Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the 7th episode of the SuperNova Show. And I am your host, Colton Roberts. This is going to be a very interesting show today. I've got Mr. Robert Castner with me. Right now, that's all I got with me. So, that's who we're going to be talking to and talking with this evening. We're going to talk about some Schmoedown stuff. They released the official rule book. We're going to talk some fan league stuff, and then we're going to talk about WandaVision. And then if everything goes well, we might have ourselves our SuperNova Show Movie Trivia Championship sometime during the show. If not, we'll push that to next week. But yeah, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and bring out Robert.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I think because you're Colton Roberts and I'm Robert Castner, I think if it's two of us, then the name links up pretty well. So I think that's perfect. Even if there's not a third or fourth person to play off of.
Yeah, that works. Honestly, I'll say when we have a big panel, like 2 weeks ago, we had 5 of us on here at a time. I barely talked because I would rather hear people's opinions than say my own. So this might actually be good, though. I'll actually get to talk more frequently. But yeah. So how are you doing?
Doing well. Finished my second week of a new job, which was grueling. I'm still trying to get used to what it's like to work a regular job 40 hours. Since I was off of it for 8 months, it was very strange. So I'm still trying to get used to that. Already found myself behind in work because they did not assign me my work correctly this week. So I'm finding myself having to do a little work on the weekend coming up, which is great. But not really because I'm not going to get paid for it. But these are the sacrifices you make to keep a new job.
Yeah, that does not sound fun at all.
No.
Yeah, I was it's been quite a week working at Warehouse X, as we've now started to call it, as coined by you.
Yes, I did it.
Yeah, it was a very interesting week. We are so slow. Like, I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
My job is weird, the opposite, apparently. It gets ramped up in the first quarter, and then in the second and third quarters, it gets slow. So by the time I'm up and running, it'll be slow, which I guess is better for me.
Yeah. All right. So I know last time you talked about you're making a sports podcast, right?
Yes, that's still happening.
Okay. So as a little bit of a introduction, what did you think about the game Sunday?
I hated it. I hated everything about it. I hated how inept both teams seemed to be in the first quarter. I hated the complete disparity in penalties between one team that had Tom Brady and one team that did not. I mean, the Chiefs set a record for penalty yards and a half. That has to say something. I hate that the game ended up being a blowout and was not exciting in the least in the second half. And I especially hate what the results ended up being. So I hated that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I watched it. Like, my family are from my dad's side of the family is from Kansas City, but I am a huge Tom Brady fan, which is not a popular opinion. But I have a reason. 4 years ago, whenever I played fantasy for the first time, I drafted him as my quarterback, and he won me the season. So I was like, "That's my dude." And so was a fan of his up at the Patriots, and when he went to Tampa Bay, I was like, I'm going to watch as many Tampa Bay games as I possibly can. Of course, I'm not a sports boy, so I'm not really super into that. So I've watched a few games this season, but not like all of them. Mm-hmm. But the Super Bowl was a big old fiery mess. Like,
I think the game was. I know a lot of people did not like the commercials, but interestingly about the commercials, I didn't think there were bad ones. Usually there are like really good ones, but then there are real stinkers. And I think all of them were kind of in the middle of being decent to pretty good. So that's my opinion on that. And I actually liked the Weeknd's performance. It wasn't like showy, but I kind of liked. I mentioned this sometime. I liked how it blended kind of a pop mentality with a rock authority. He didn't do like a lot of dancing, but he had the bands. He had that really cool sequence when he was under the stage, which I thought was neat to recreate a music video, which I never thought I would see in 2021. And for what they had and everything that was going on at the time, I thought he put together a pretty good show. I didn't think it was that bad at all. So I think everything around the game was fair to pretty good. But I thought the game was such crap that I think the experience was brought down for me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect them to get killed like that. Like, it was.
Well, the problem was that they lost their left tackle during the playoffs. I think in the Cleveland game or maybe the Buffalo game, and then they had to and then there were other dudes who were starters who didn't play at the beginning of the year, so they missed that continuity. Then they had to shuffle the whole offensive line and bring people in who hadn't been on the team at all. And Tampa is really, really, really good at rushing the passer. They have a bunch of dudes who've done it through the majority of their career. They got a lot of fast linebackers, so they were able to neutralize some of the weapons. And Mahomes had to run. I think the stat was like Mahomes ran 400 yards of running away from sacks, which is like the most ever, especially in a Super Bowl. So it was they just couldn't, the offensive line part of it just killed them. It was bad.
Yeah. So you just used a lot of words that I don't understand.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm starting a sports podcast, so that when I use these words, people who want to listen to sports stuff will connect, and that'll be fun.
Yes. Yeah, next year, whenever the World Cup's next year, right? I think.
Yeah. It was 2018, so it should be 22. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. So when that comes around, I know soccer.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about football. Like I don't know anything.
I'm a fair weather soccer fan. I pay attention at the World Cup, and that's like, if there's a big story like Leicester, being like a 1,000-1 underdog to win like the Premier League or whatever it was, then I know those stories, but otherwise I don't know much about it.
Yeah. But yeah, like I'm a Tottenham Hotspurs fan over in the UK.
Yeah, I know the Tottenham Hotspurs.
Yeah, so I try to. I don't watch as many of their games as I used to, because now that I'm married and have kids, it's nothing is really a priority anymore besides work. So, like, if I'm gonna watch something, it's gonna be like something I enjoy, like WandaVision or a new movie or just any random stuff on television. I don't like, and especially like it's 2021. I don't have cable, so
yeah.
And I definitely do not have British cable, which I'm sure living in the UK, it would be a lot easier to watch them than it is over here in the States.
So it'd be like watching football on a Sunday that's on the major networks, where you could just have like rabbit ears, but you need like Fox Sports 1 or whatever to watch something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, like the Super Bowl was, you said it correct about the commercials. There were none that were outstanding. They were all decent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there weren't any that were just like horrible.
No, I thought they all. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like the Springsteen one because of how political it was and how sad it was, and we wanted hope for the year. And he kind of seemed like he was trying to drag us back into 2020 mentality. But I thought they all had redeeming qualities to them. None of them stood out as like, man, what the hell were they thinking there?
Yeah, I will say I did not like the State Farm commercial. Mainly because I saw it about 8 times, because they kept on, if you watched the game on Amazon, it was the one commercial that came up continuously. I don't know if it was like that on the regular networks, but once I saw it, the first time I thought it was funny. But when you see something like 6 more times, it loses its funny. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't want anything to do with this.
Well, I asked my friends, I said, how many commercials, what was the split between, because it was on CBS, what was the split between commercials about Clarice and the Equalizer? And my joke was, it's a trick question because all commercials were equal parts Clarice and the Equalizer because they punch those up all the time if you were watching on CBS.
Yeah, I saw the Equalizer trailer as well. Like the first time, I thought, okay, this will be good. But then I thought about it more, and I was like, I don't know if I like this because, in my opinion, I don't like that when they make shows from movies or they remake shows from old shows.
Yep.
Like my wife, she loves the new Magnum PI.
Oh, yeah. Jay Hernandez as Magnum PI. She's all in on him.
He is not as good as the old Magnum PI. I'm blanking on his name. Wait. Yep, Tom Selleck. But I will say the girl in the new one, I think, is better than the girl in the old one.
Okay.
So there is a fine line there where you can. I just don't think anyone can beat Tom Selleck. He's like the best ever at everything. Like
he is Magnum PI. He's also the dude from 3 Men and a Baby.
Yeah.
There's things. I used to watch Hawaii Five-0, the new one, for a couple years.
Oh, it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty good.
As long as it did, honestly, or keeps going. Incredible. But I thought that was pretty good. You know, I'm a Scott Conn fan. I'm a Daniel Day Kim from Lost fan, and that show just seemed like it kept wanting to just bring on people from Lost, and I was like, that's cool. Hey, look, it's Locke. Hey, look, it's Hurley. Hey, look, it's whomever. So I like that. I thought that was a nice way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So you want to go ahead and start moving on to Schmoedown talk?
Yeah, let's leave that Super Bowl into last week because I hated it.
Yeah, I'll agree with the sentiment.
Okay.
So I know we were talking before the show about fan league stuff.
Yes.
What do you have going on with the fan leagues?
Okay. So this week I had my debut in Warzone. I actually ended up playing one of the people in my newly minted faction, which Anthony mentioned a few times here because he's part of it as well. He was actually the manager for both of us. They put that matchup together before they realized we were both in the same faction. So it was somewhat self-serving and didn't really help with faction standings and whatnot. I also have a match that's going to be that I'm going to be filming or has filmed, however timing works in the internet television landscape for MTC. I know that a lot of us around the fan leagues are working on prepping or have already done the testing for Full Metal Geek, even though they're still doing their tournament. They're backlogged from the tournament they had filmed mostly last year. So we don't really know who's like in the top section or who is currently the champion because that hasn't all been sorted out yet. I did my testing a while ago for Full Metal Singles, and I know a lot of people did that. And then there's various other things going on. I hosted a free-for-all in Titan Trivia during the Schmoedown draft. That was fun. At least, and all kinds of other things. So I know the leagues are kind of trying to air all the things that they backlogged at the end of last year. TMG, the same thing with their Geek tournament too. So.
Yeah, I think David and Alex revealed, was it maybe Wednesday, that you're going to be in the Ontool Geek. You're on the roster.
I am indeed. I'm very excited about that. I was approached, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I don't have to like do anything." And they were like, "No, we know you're good at it." And I said, "Cool. I try to be if I can." That's nice.
Yeah, and I think it's Tuesday. I have a Geek Challenge Cup that comes out. It filmed about a month ago, so
nice.
It's so weird, like knowing that stuff was filmed and then being like, I'm not allowed to talk about it with anyone for a really long time. And just realizing when they gave their big announcement the other day that I was like, oh, this hasn't came out yet. Man, I have told people what the result is. I hope I wasn't supposed to do that.
I try not to say the results of anything for fear that I will venture into the great unknown and somebody will have to yank me back. Which brings up, since you were bringing up ONTL, I am going to manage my my fan league life partner, Antonio Chavez, against the winner of Caleb Coho and Cameron Holtzman, which I think is a match to determine who's going to be a number one contender for who eventually is going to play Nico Suave Rigoli for the title that was vacated.
Yeah. Like you said with Full Metal Geek, I'm supposed to get tested sometime, which...
Doesn't it sound weird when you say it like that?
Yeah.
I'm getting tested for Full Metal Geek. Oh, I hope I have it, or I hope I don't. I don't know what's worse.
Yeah, it's like that other thing that we don't
yeah.
talk about.
No. We're not going to... By the way, shout outs to Matt Graham. Hope you're getting better, buddy, because he ended up with that thing that we're not going to talk about, and just want to make sure that he's healthy. So shout out to him.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else big that's happened in fan leagues. I mean, obviously, people got drafted.
Yeah.
The Fan League 4. That's really exciting.
Super exciting. It took out 2 of my faction mates in multiplex, which makes for difficult tidings, but it's still really exciting for them.
Yeah, and then I know Amaru is going to play. I'm trying to remember who it is.
Yeah, he's playing Jesse Swift.
Yes, which
on March 4th or 5th.
Yeah, something like that. Like, I don't know who that is.
No.
So I know people have talked about Jesse, and I'm like, I don't have any idea who that is, so I'm not going to comment about any of that. But
and it was revealed that Christine, who's on the Stars, also Christina has her match. Yeah. And I forget against who right now off the top of my head. It's one of the main fan league people. Not the 4, but somebody else who's like a rookie. I can't remember who it is. But she has her match in late March, I believe. So that's really exciting too.
Yep. And I think next Friday, which I'm glad we can do the predictions for this now.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think's gonna win next Friday? Molly Damon versus Laura Kelly, and then Mara Kanopik versus Chandru Dandapani.
I know a lot of people are picking Molly, but she's obviously skilled, and she has a nice pedigree, and she gets to live in a house with the dude and work with the guy who's probably the greatest conceived Star Wars trivia mind in this and any other galaxy or universe. But I just think Laura Kelly last year I think she got blindsided a bit by Ace. I think she took him somewhat lightly. That match was close, obviously, like all Ace's matches were for the most part. And I just think she's due. I think she's due for another round. I thought she acquitted herself really well at Spectacular 2 years ago. And I would go with her. I think new lease on life. She's in Swag now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's in Swag now. New lease on life. So I figure maybe that. Who knows if they're going to lean into her dark side turn or if she'll come back. I don't know how that will play out in terms of the logistics, but I just always assume that she'll win any match that's not against Alex Damon, or maybe Dimolanta, but we'll see. And then the other match, I'm just gonna stick with Chandru till he proves that he can't be beat.
Yeah, I think Chandru is gonna win. Honestly, like if he keeps on playing like he's playing right now, I think he might just be the IG GOAT.
Yeah.
And like we're gonna see how this season goes because there's so many people like that I want to see him play. Like I want to see him play Alex, Damon, but Alex has to get past the Barbarian and then has to get past Mike to go after Chandra. So who knows if that's actually going to happen? But yeah, like Chandra's a killer, man. And of course, like there's going to be all these new categories, so it might be something that he's not been prepared for.
Well, that's the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
Mario was talking about this offline, but I mean, he went through all the new categories and how everything is now rearranged and segmented. And I thought about it and I said, well, obviously you can only ask so many questions from 9 franchises, or 9 categories. So that has to happen so that we can keep circulating the IG banner. And it's also an equalizer, right? It's a great equalizer because there might be people out there who actually know these movies better than some of these established IG players, and we'll get to see how it kind of balances out, right? We don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be, but yeah, I don't see him losing that belt anytime soon.
How many? I know Hector. He technically defended, even though Jeremy John should have beat him. Fucking missing the Back in Black question, awful. And then did Kalinowski ever?
No,
no, he never defended, right?
Yeah, no, Inman defended.
Inman defended. You're right.
Yeah, and
Mara never had an opportunity to. She lost the mic. That's what it was.
Yeah, and no one else has ever no one will have defended twice. I'm pretty sure.
So if Chandra just beats Mara, then isn't he the GOAT by design?
Yep.
He's the only one who's done it twice. He'd have to be.
Yeah, like I always wonder, like I don't want to discount anyone. Like I wonder what the league would be like if Rachel was still in it, or if Smets didn't come down with his illness, or like I think about stuff like that all the time. Is like, what if these things happen? Like technically, if you go back far enough, the Patriots should not have had the win streak that they did.
No, they should have lost like 4 different times. They should have lost to Trek, if not for a silly ruling on Eve versus Eva. MODOK should have beat them for sure if they just got out of their character. If they weren't doing their stupid character, they would have beat them. And there's probably one of those that top 10 could have won.
Yeah, and it's like, I know it's not a very popular opinion, but I don't think, like, if Above the Line hadn't retired the way they did with Sam leaving, I'm not sure that the Shire Wolves would have won when they did.
I always bring that up, and I know that that's somewhat of an unpopular opinion because they're the favorite team ever. And they're like I would say they're 3, right? They would be 3 to me.
Yeah.
They would be 3 behind Patriots and Above the Line.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really, it's really weird because like Christian has talked about there were so many plans. Like if Dan had beat a guy, that it was going to be Dan versus, he was setting up Dan versus Sam.
Yeah.
When Guy beat Dan, Sam was like, "There's no one else to challenge me, so I'm out." And I'm like,
you had to wait 2 months or whatever. You just had to wait like half a year, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like I've always considered, in my opinion, there's like 3 people that I consider the GOAT.
Yeah.
And it's all for 2 of them are for the same reason. Like Dan is the GOAT because he's Dan.
Yeah.
I also consider Sam because Sam never lost the belt. He gave the belt up freely.
He did, and he also had the longest. He still has the longest win streak now, tied with Collins, right? Was it 7?
Yeah.
Before he retired? Yeah. So he still has the longest win streak. double belting and winning those two, Ultimate Schmoedown tournaments is very, very impressive. I mean, Chance did something like that, right? Kind of. He was the team champion, and then he went through the IG tournament. So he was close-ish to that. But yeah. I think Sam doing it that way was incredible.
Yeah, and then in my opinion, I think Roca is the GOAT because he has the character. Like, nothing against Dan.
Dan doesn't need a character. Dan's character is knowing more than people. That's his character.
Dan's character is being Dan Murrell.
Yeah.
And at least Roca, he has the outlaw character, and it's the best character. Like, even though when he turned heel at Spectacular and turned against Dan, I was like, why are you doing this? But also, I love this.
Yeah.
So, I can't.
That's how he keeps himself relevant, because I don't think he's, knock on wood or whatever. I don't want to conjure his spirit or something, but I don't think he's good enough to win belts anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely possible. I guess.
Then, by the way, just to kind of piggyback off what you said, a lot of people like to throw, Christian and Mark on there because obviously they started everything and they were the first team champs. And then you have to think about, you were talking about character. Guy has one of the better characters that's constantly evolving, even though his trivia knowledge stuff has taken a nosedive. And Snyder has to be on the list because of all the team he's won 3 team titles, which is insane. And he was part of the Patriots, and he's going up for a #1 contender match against Merle, trying to play Collins again. I mean, I think he should be on that list too.
Yeah, like, it's so weird that, like, people reference Mount Rushmore a lot.
They do. It's actually over-referenced. Can we do like a Last Supper? Let's do that. Let's do the Last Supper. Who are the 13 members, and that, or like, who are the 12 apostles, and then who's the dude in the middle?
Yeah, I only don't want to do that because I don't want to reference anyone as Jesus.
You don't have to say it. You can just say the dude at the head of the table.
Okay, cool. I can do that. But Mount Rushmore, there's only 3 presidents on Mount Rushmore that I actually understand. Like, I don't know why Teddy Roosevelt is on Mount Rushmore.
Well, I mean, he did help us win the Spanish-American War.
I mean, that's true, but he also...
He did find a bunch of state parks. He did find the state park program. That's cool. I mean, he did a lot of cool stuff.
He did kind of, create the Bull Moose Party and mess with Howard Taft, and then we had to get Woodrow Wilson, and then we had to deal with the League of Nations and all that fallout. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, I don't like getting into politics, but I guess 100-year-old politics, it's okay. None of them are around, and
1918, Bull Moose, Spanish flu.
Yeah,
fantastic time. World War I, we were killing it. The whole world was killing it, literally.
Yeah, but I know they released the rule book. Yes. So, what is your opinion on? Like, I know they've talked about, I don't remember how much I think it's 7 points if you play a triple threat championship match. So, in your opinion, if you're Alex Damon, do you go for the 2 5-point matches that you could possibly win, or do you go for the 1 7-point match that you'll possibly win?
I guess it depends on how quickly they can shuffle through contenders, right? If they can get enough contenders, you probably just want to keep playing the one-on-ones and racking up points. If you can only get 2 in a while, then you should probably do it that way.
Yeah, because I know they have the match. I think they already scheduled him versus Demolanta.
Yeah.
But they also gave him the choice to declare that if it would be a triple threat or not. And I have no idea if that's storyline or if it's actually going to be a thing. I think if Molly wins next Friday, it will be 2 singles matches. because I think Christian wants the Damon versus Damon Civil War.
Yes.
But I think if Laura wins, I think it will be a triple threat match because then Alex can take them both out at once. And
I think that's what Roxy would prefer, obviously.
Yeah, because he's not going to miss any questions. So unless they both miss their questions in round 2 and somehow recover points, he's not going to miss. Like, him missing at Spectacular was just one speed round question worth 1 point. He doesn't miss anything any other time. So,
do you think when he was getting interviewed before the Ace match at Spectacular, where he was talking about there were questions that Ace was pulling that he wasn't thinking of, do you think that was BS, or do you think that was real?
I don't know. Like, I'm not a big Star Wars guy when it comes to trivia, but whenever I was watching all those matches, I didn't think many of Ace's pulls were like his pulls in the Spectacular match were so much better. But whenever I don't remember what match it was, they asked him about Darth Maul, and they asked him a question about the Dathomirian Sith Lord and Phantom Menace, and he didn't know that it was Darth Maul. And I'm like, how? Like, maybe it's because they threw in Dathomirian there, and you would only really know that if you've watched Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But so I can give him the benefit of the doubt there. But
when he knew the name of the droid control ship in episode 1, the was it Vutu, the Vuntan Palta? I always forget it. I try to remember it, but it never penetrates. But when he pulled that one, I was like, oh my god, that had a name? It was one of those things that you're like, oh, I can't believe things have names.
Yeah. All right, so we got 30 minutes before Ryan's going to be here. So we'll get to hash around.
Is there anything else rulebook related that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm trying to look. I know they now have like an let me read what it's actually called. A benefit of the doubt clause or whatever, that if you spelled something wrong or you said something wrong, but you obviously knew the answer, they'll give you the point. And now I wonder if that will open up people. Like, there are so many names that in the fan, like just playing from the fan leagues, that I have no idea about, and I've totally spelled and pronounced names wrong, but I knew the answer and I didn't get the point because I pronounced it incorrectly, because I've only ever like read the name, and so I've never been able to pronounce it correctly.
I got one in Nico and TMG. I said Mira and it's Mara, and he got me on that one. I was like, okay. I mean, I wrote it down with the I, and I looked at it and I said maybe I should change it, and I didn't. So fair enough, Nico, you got me.
Yeah, and then so that could open up some stuff. But I do like that they now have this rule book so that people, if they're going to challenge, they're going to challenge based on this document and not precedent between previous seasons. They're going to open up this document here and be like, on page 13, it says this. So
I was talking about equalizers before with IG categories. Is this rule book going to be a nice equalizer for managers who don't play the Schmoedown well, but can strategize based and learn the rule book?
I think so. I think the one problem with managers who haven't played or don't know as much, they still won't know if the answer's wrong.
Yes.
But in the case of, I guess it's called like the team captain is what they're calling it, or like whatever. You could have a player tell you, hey, challenge this, that answer is wrong. So, I mean, in the digital age, that might not be as possible. So people like no offense, Tom Dagnino, who doesn't know trivia really, it might be more difficult for him to challenge, but he might be able to read these rules and be able to be like, hey, this works for that.
Yeah.
And I know it talks about on here like what there's like eligibility for like when a movie comes out on streaming and all that stuff. So at least like I know 2021 and 2020 were crazy years for movies. Like not a lot of movies were theatrically released. And all the WB movies are going to be put on HBO Max when they debut. So at least like these people who can't go to the movies are able to watch it and still be able to, they'll get questions for it. And that makes me wonder, like, for movies that they release on streaming sites that are different than the regular movie, like, for an example, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
It's going to release on the streaming site, but there are also going to be theaters that house it, which I don't know what crazy person's watching a 4-hour movie with a mask on. Like, nope, I could not. Like, even in my own house, when that movie comes out, I'll probably pause it a few times to get up and walk because that's going to be exhausting.
My wife and I just watched Amadeus yesterday. We watched the director's cut 3-hour version, and we were watching it, and we paused it at one point. It was only halfway over, and I was like, man. And Amadeus is great. It's just 3 hours is a commitment, man.
Yeah, and then I don't know. That's like half a work day that you're watching a movie.
I know, and you're not getting paid for it.
Well, hey, if you
take for it, it'd be something.
Yeah, hey, if you take vacation on the day,
I guess
then you can get paid for it.
That's fair.
So, that's
a pox on whoever wants to take PTO on a day just to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah, but yeah. So I wonder, like, especially with all the new IG stuff, will there be questions from the new Zack Snyder Justice League, or will they just cut that out? Because, like, I've asked people in the fan leagues, like some question writers and the head of leagues, and they're like, yeah, we're not talking about that unless it's released in a lot of theaters.
Mm.
But I know there's some leagues that, like, do those kind of questions. Like, they'll do the extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings movies and stuff like that.
I don't like that. It makes me mad.
Yeah, I can't stand that either. But, I mean, it does happen, and it's whatever. Like, I don't watch the extended versions. I hate the extended versions of. I've never watched the extended versions of the Hobbit movies, but I hate the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, they always take the tension and cut it. Like, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Since we have more time to burn, we can move to movies before we do WandaVision and talk about my distaste for the extended edition, since we finished all 3 Lord of the Rings movies on this show. But I'm trying to think, is there anything else going on in the Schmoedown? Like, I'm looking at these rule books, but
are there any? We talked about a couple matches because we were talking about fan league personnel who are going to be playing. Were there any matches additional to what we talked about from the throwdown that's coming up and everything that you're interested in?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the kid is going to play against Chance.
Mm-hmm.
Which, all right, so I've always had the history of saying, oh, this person is going to fight this person because I'm a wrestling guy. And even when it's trivia, I'm like, yeah, Robert Castner is going to fight Ryan Payne.
It's a fight. It's a scrap.
I mean, it is, but if someone was I've had people watch the show that I work with, and they're like, I heard they were going to fight, and all you guys did was answer questions.
All right, you.
I was like, that's my bad. I'm sorry.
Digital fighting is a little bit tough.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But I know they talked about how whenever you start, you can choose categories for the wheel. You'll choose 3, but then the question writers will choose 2 of the categories and put them on the wheel for you. So you won't know until the day of what the wheel is. And I know I'm only familiar with TMG when it comes to the wheel. I don't know how other leagues do it, but I know they do 1 category.
Other leagues will do 2 usually.
Yeah, and I've always wondered why they don't exactly follow. But now it's going to be 3, and I don't know. Do you think the fan leagues will adopt this rule book into their own stuff, or?
My short answer would be no. My long answer would be depending on who runs the league, which leagues they are, and how malleable they are to change. I know a lot of people have set rules and things. I know sometimes they'll add categories and take categories out, but in terms of the general structure of the matches and how they're set up, they're usually pretty inclined to stay in that lane. So my short answer would be no.
Okay. So I have a question for you, and of course you can say yourself.
No, probably I won't. But go ahead.
Who do you think is the best fan league player currently in singles, teams, and IG?
Okay.
That has not made their way to the Schmoedown, or for some reason you don't know why they weren't drafted or whatever. Like, if you had put someone in the draft list, who would it have been?
This is easy. IG's real easy. It's Nick Tuig. It's not even close because he owns 4 belts right now currently. He owns the 2, or he owns 3 belts, right? I guess they don't have Team Geek in Full Metal Geek, I don't think. He has Geek there, and then he has fandom teams and singles and multiplex. So IG, it's Tuig. It's not even close, I don't think.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I don't know. Did he not put an audition in? I've never seen him talk about it, so I don't know. But if he didn't, then it makes sense why he didn't get drafted or put on the list. If he did, I don't know what is wrong with anyone at the Schmoedown for not putting him on that list and someone picking him up. Because I agree, he is the best IG player the fan leagues have ever had.
Bar none. I mean, I know Robert Parker was really great, but I think Tuig's better than him. And I don't think it's close. It could be exposure. I don't know Tuig as well, so I don't know what he's done and what he hasn't put out. It could be, like Rue is great, but Rue also gets a lot of exposure because he has his channel and he puts out a lot of content, along with being a good character. He's a good character. He's good on the mic. Maybe Tuig's not as good in terms of expressing out a character that they were looking for. Who knows? Maybe he just didn't want to do it. It could also be that.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Like, some people, like I was going to put in an audition, and every single day I was like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And then the deadline happened, and I was like, oh, I'll do it next year. Like that.
I did put forward a audition tape. I did. But knowing what I heard from other people and what they did, I clearly lacked in that.
Yeah, like I kept on thinking, oh, I'll do this, and then something would come up every single day. Like, I guess my priorities are not trivia.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't think about that stuff. Like, the fact that I'm here on a Friday night, when we're recording this, it's Friday, guys. That's a thing.
Yeah.
This on Sunday. But I get this allotted amount of time on Fridays where I get to just be at peace and do whatever and talk to people without, like, my wife's cool with that. And this is, besides like watching TV during the week, this is pretty much my only free time between work, and then I gotta, I have 2 kids and 11.
Time with kids? What a, responsibility.
Yeah, like I have a 11 and a 10-year-old, and they are so energetic. And by the way, whenever like they were technically my stepsons, but they are my children. But like when my wife and I started dating, they were 8 and 9, I think, and they have so much energy, way more than I wish I had a tenth of the energy that they did. Because I
probably did when you were their age, but cells slow down when you get older. Your molecules they don't produce as much kinetic energy. They don't impact and come back together as quickly as they used to. So
Yeah,
you probably did.
Like if I had the energy that they did now at 29, there was nothing I couldn't do. But now I'm like, ugh. And the last 3 nights I have fallen asleep watching TV. And if you told me like 5 years ago I was doing that, I would have laughed at you.
No.
I was like, nah, I'm young. I'm a 24-year-old kid. Now when you're 29, you're gonna fall asleep on the couch.
I'm 32, and I still have a little bit of that energy in me, and I have a lot of inspiration of things I want to do. I just need to hunker down and do it, like make my podcast, for instance. That would be one of those things.
Oh yeah, like I had planned on doing this, like not this exact podcast. It was something else. The name was different. I planned on this like 4 years ago and procrastinated. And then my wife one day told me, she was like, if you're going to do it, you need to do it now. And then I figured out how to do it through StreamYards. It works great. And then TMG has been wonderful, and Kevin helped me out making it. So I had the means to do it, and she's like, yes, you can do it on Fridays. Wait, that gives me 2 hours where she doesn't have to look at my face, and she was really happy about that. And she can watch whatever show she wants to watch, because again, I don't like the Magnum PI show. Or right now she's watching.
Oh, so that works out. Wait, when's Magnum PI on? Is it on Fridays?
No, I think it's on
Wednesday.
Yeah, it might be Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah,
but I know she watches it on Fridays, and it's on. She watches it on her CBS All Access on.
Oh, she has that. Does she really like Star Trek Discovery?
She does not, and I have not started watching it yet. But it looks good. It looks really good.
I watched a free episode of The Twilight Zone, and I kind of liked it, but not enough to get CBS All Access. I will say that.
Yeah, she has that because all of her shows are on CBS, and we don't have cable, so she has CBS All Access. So she watches that constantly. So, yeah. So she gets to watch that while I do this and all that stuff. And recently she's been watching I'm trying to figure out the best wording of this. It is a Mexican television show.
Like Univision, or
it's a show on Netflix about some singer, her life.
Oh, you're talking about Selena? You're talking about Selena, right?
Maybe
with Christian Serratos from The Walking Dead. You're talking about that, right?
Okay, well, I have no idea. I just know the entire show is in Spanish, and sometimes she'll put the English subtitles on for me. And
this is not that show. This is something else. I know what you're talking about, though.
But yeah, like so, she'll put that on for me, and also we are totally talking about TV, Colton. What are you doing? Changing. But she'll put that on for me, but they talk so fast the subtitles just go off the screen. So that's when I just decide to play on my phone and just listen to it, because I don't understand enough Spanish. Like I understand enough to like have a conversation, but not to like the degree that a fluent speaker would. No,
it doesn't seem accessible to you because you don't understand the whole of it.
Yeah. Plus, there's words in Spanish that they use that everyone who's Mexican understands. This means this, But if you've taken college classes or high school classes in Spanish, you're like, no, this means this.
It's not formal Spanish like people from Spain would speak. It's what they speak is more of an informal, colloquial Spanish that they speak in Latin America.
Yeah, which I guess it's probably like the equivalent of us like saying y'all or ain't.
Or yins if you're from Pittsburgh like I am.
Yeah, so it's probably the same. But yeah, so yeah, I love making this podcast. It's great. But yeah, so
did you want to go back? I guess not, because we're going forward. You asked me about all the different who I thought was the best.
Yes, let's go back to that.
So teams, it's probably the Michael Campbell, Jake Marangoni team from Multiplex. The the concept of what a hamburger is, I think is their name or something ridiculous. It's either them or Brian Michaels and Joseph Olivas, who are the team champions in Full Metal. It's probably one of those two for the teams. And then very quickly, the singles player, it's probably either one of Brian, Joseph, Jake, Michael Campbell, or Caleb Bowman. Probably one of those five. I just don't know who.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to singles at all. Like I'll watch the Schmoedown stuff, and I'll watch like stuff that people that I know are playing in it, but I am awful at singles. Which writing these questions for the championship matches have made it a little easier because these are things like I think to myself, would I know this? If I don't know it, then I ask the question. I ask the question and then I go look up the answer.
Yeah. If
I know it immediately, then I never ask anyone that question because if I know it, a chimpanzee should know it.
The issue, the dregs of being a question writer. I understand.
Yeah, like it's different. So I know one time you said that you help run Titan Trivia, right?
I do. Yeah, I'm the IG commissioner there technically.
Okay.
We haven't had an IG match in a while. We are having one for the championship for Titan Mania 2, which is coming in March.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about that after we sign off. But yeah, like I don't really know anyone, and like I will say, you and Antonio, your team, yes,
Duo Ex Machina.
Yep, there you go.
I came up with the team name, and apparently nobody can say it right, but I thought it was clever, and I'm going to keep to it.
Yeah, I think you guys are great, and it's not just because you like destroyed us, which I have now that I've said it. I don't know if that match has been posted yet.
I think it's no, it hasn't.
Okay, well,
you said it before already. You and Anthony have both said it already a long time ago, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you guys straight up killed us.
I take studying seriously because when you get to a certain age and your athletic prowess leaves you and you missed your opportunity to take advantage of these things, if you used to play sports, you need to get the competitive fire out. And this is one way I can do it in a way that I know that I'm good at. So I take it very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've tried studying, like I have flashcards and stuff, but my easiest way is to just watch the movies. And man, are there so many movies. Like singles, there's like a million movies.
Yeah.
And I've asked people, like me and Collins have talked a lot. And I was like, how do you study for singles? And he's like, I am not allowed to disclose that information. And I was like, oh, come on, man. I was like, I don't understand. Like, I'll watch one of their matches, and if it's a singles match, I might get like one question right in the entire match, unless it's a Kevin Smith match or a Chris Jericho match. and then I do fairly well on those.
Yeah.
But other matches, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't understand how people do this. Like, I don't understand how Anthony does this. Like, no, but like,
You want me to let you in on my secrets?
Yes, absolutely.
That's why I subscribe to a lot of fan league YouTube channels. I watch a lot of matches. You get a lot of questions and answers from those. And as it turns out, a lot of them tend to overlap. And I remember them in my head because I remember me trying to answer the questions, me 75 to 80% of them getting them right, but then the 25 to 20 I don't. Then I lock away and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to forget that again. Doesn't always work, but it works a fair amount of time. I also read a lot of wiki. That helps too.
Yeah, I do that. Any of my future IG opponents don't pay attention to this part, but yeah, I do that a whole lot. Like I did a training session with Kevin Smets back in
nice.
March.
I mean, that's a good person to learn from, obviously.
And, like, I'll hit him up every once in a while and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And he gave me a few strategies. Like, a lot of them are like, if it's a movie you've not seen in a really long time, there's these videos that's like everything wrong with blank or everything great about blank.
Yeah.
And he was like, watch both of them because one guy will have an opinion and he might forget something, but both of them together, they don't really forget much. So I've done that with a lot of movies because I have not seen a lot of the mixed bag IG movies.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I'm comfortable with revealing on a podcast.
No, but I've never met anybody who's comfortable with mixed bag ever.
Yeah. So like I'm comfortable with saying I'll probably not get a whole lot of those right unless I have literally studied it that day, because those are not the things that I remember. Like I remember the casting and stuff for the Harry Potter movies, even though there's like 8 million people in those movies. Like when you make flashcards for those movies, I'm like, what is wrong with you people?
I was watching. Did Full Metal do when they did the team Harry Potter match? And I remember Tuig telling me who Lee Jordan was, and I was like, oh, I didn't know who that was. Never did I think about who they were. I learned later that it was Magnitude on Community, and I was like, great, now I have a connection. Sometimes that helps too, especially for actors and actresses. If you know other stuff they've been in, then you can make that connection, then it holds longer.
Yeah, that's like with me, but by the time this comes out, we will have they'll be done with the trivia for Thon thing. I had a Star Wars Rebels match, and it's on trivia for Thon. And one of the questions was about the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels.
Mm.
I was like, it's Lucius Malfoy. And then I remembered what his name was, and it's Jason Isaacs. And I was just like, boom. And I was the only one who got the question right. So I'm like, Harry Potter, you're the best. But
by the way, Jason Isaacs, he was the voice of the Basilisk. FYI. I learned that. I lost a Full Metal Classic because of that. Well, a lot of things, but if I knew that, that would help.
Yeah, and there's little things like that all over. Like, if they ask a question, I'm like, oh. And then, yeah, like those connections that you make in your head about stuff, totally, yeah.
I'm doing them all the time when I watch every movie, and I assume my wife gets annoyed by it. But if it's stuff we've watched, and I say it, then she's like, yeah, okay, yes, that's exactly right. I was like, see? So I try to, like, I guess I impose that on her, even if she doesn't want it, but she's very nice about it. So
my wife's the exact same way. Like if we're watching a cop show and someone shows up, I'll be like, hey, that's him from Batman. And she'll be like, Batman's creepy. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. Batman is really creepy. But it's still that person. Like, we were watching some show and Aaron Eckhart was on it. And I was like, haha, Harvey Dent.
Nice. That's what I mean. You get to do that, and it ingrains it in your long-term memory. That's nice.
But, okay, so still waiting on Ryan. I sent him another message saying okie dokie. though. Let's.
Full disclosure, I did not study for this geek match we're going to have, so we'll see how that goes.
But so what do you think about, like, do you watch the extended editions, like, ever?
No, I've never watched them. I've never come across them. I think I was gifted Lord of the Rings, like by I think my grandma actually had them. These weren't the first times I watched them. I watched them in theaters, but I got them when she gave up her DVD collection, and I just watched those. I'm like, why do I need to watch an extended edition? Why do I need to spend more money on it? I'm not going to.
Yeah, like there's so many things. Like I've said in the Fellowship, they're going through Moria, and Gandalf looks down in a chasm, and he sees Mithril everywhere, and he's like, Bilbo had a Mithril shirt. I wonder what happened to that. Essentially, that's what he said.
That's awful. That's awful for the reveal when Frodo gets stabbed.
Exactly. I hate it. And there are so many of them. Like, there are moments that I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, in Return of the King, the Witch King breaks Gandalf's staff in the extended edition, which makes sense why he doesn't have it in the rest of the movie. So I remember for years, until I saw that, I was like, why doesn't he just use his magic? I was pretty much Anthony every time he talks about Lord of the Rings, he's like, why doesn't he just use his magic? But I was a 14-year-old kid, and I was just like, and it wasn't until I was older that I was realized, oh, he doesn't have his staff anymore. So his magic's a little limited now.
What's the extended, what is it in Two Towers? It's Merry and Pippin like drinking enchanted water or something.
Oh, and they grow.
Yeah, to grow.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Dumb. I know it's in the books. I know it's in the canon, in the literary references. But my God, that sounds terrible.
Now I will say how they killed Saruman in Return of the King.
Yes.
I like that he dies in the extended edition, because in the regular edition,
he's just there, and then we don't talk about him anymore.
Yeah, Gandalf just tells Treebeard he's up in his tower, and you're going to have to watch him. And then for some reason, the Palantir is just in the water. By the way,
shit detail for the Ents. They take over Isengard, and they're like, hey, you're going to watch this 150, 200-year-old man up in the tower.
Yeah, and then, like, in the extended edition, Grima stabs him in the back, and he falls off, and he falls on the turbine, and then drops the Palantir. So I'm like, okay, that all works great. Like, there's scenes like that. And then in the same movie, when the gang are going to find the army of the dead, they have Aragorn's like, what say you? And then it ends in the regular movie.
Yes.
In the extended edition, they're walking out of the cave, and the ghost says, we will join you. And I'm like, no, that also cuts the dramatic tension of...
Yes.
And then there's...
When they reveal when they come to the boats, before they come off the boats, yeah.
Yeah, like...
Well, here's an example. I talked about watching Amadeus last night. I never watched the regular version, so I watched this extended director's cut. And I didn't know what was added to it. And I looked online, and there's a scene in that when Mozart's wife brings Salieri a bunch of Mozart's music so that he can review, so that Mozart could be considered to be the teacher for the emperor's daughter. And that part, and then Salieri basically propositions her to have sex with him as payment to get Mozart a good word in. And she comes back later on that night, and she is ready to do the deed, and then he dismisses her. And they say on the internet, which makes a lot of sense when I think about it, at the end, when she's really upset to see Salieri, it's because of that interaction, which makes all the sense in the world. But I think in the theatrical cut, they don't have that. So when you see her chastise him and want him to be out, to be removed, it it doesn't really track as much. So sometimes there are situations where the director's cut of the extended editions fill in that necessary gap so that the pathos makes sense. Otherwise, it's just floating and you don't understand why the motivations behind people. Other times, it's just adding additional things that are superfluous and don't matter. Like everything you've mentioned falls under one of those categories for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, like in the Two Towers, they have the Eowyn and Aragorn scene where they're talking about his age, and he's like, I'm actually 87. And she's like, oh my lord, you're so old. Which makes sense on why he would go after an elf chick, because he's old, she's probably old, it makes sense.
Yeah, they've seen a lot of stuff.
Instead of going after this 30-year-old. Okay, because when I was a kid, I didn't understand at all. I was like, this girl's pretty, you're here, she wants to go, she's going to live way longer than you.
Arwen is she's like on a boat to the Enchanted Lands. She's gone.
Yeah.
You gotta keep living life, man. No.
Yeah.
You don't have the same life experience.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you're 50 years older than someone, even if you look, Viggo Mortensen's age, you went through all this stuff that they're never going to understand.
Nope.
So it's better than, hey, I can deal with this person for 40 more years before she dies, and I'll still be alive because Numenorians live till they're like 180 years old. Or I can get with this elf chick and get to spend the next 100 years of my life being young and like this. So it makes sense now as an adult. But
I will say, when they do those visions, when Elrond shows Arwen those visions of him getting old, I'm like, doesn't look that old to me. Looks like he could still hang. I know he's dead, but he still looked pretty much in control of his physicality at that age.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move on to some TV here. All right. Episode. I didn't get to talk to you last week about what did you think of episode 5 of WandaVision, and then we're going to discuss episode 6.
Yeah, I had to abscond because I had not seen it. I watched it that evening. I think 5's my favorite episode. 4 or 5 is my favorite episode so far. I really enjoy all the tense moments, and as Vision's sort of coming to terms with what's going on, how everybody who's in the town is trapped, getting a sense of what it is that, exactly, spoilers, getting a sense of how everybody is reacting when they get out of this hallucination, this hypnotism that Wanda has put them all in, noting everything. It's like episode 4 when we see everybody coming back from the snap or the blip. And as I mentioned then, I said, we only got to see the heroic version of what that was like, or the off-kilter comedic version of it. We never got to see the dramatic, what does this actually mean for regular people? That's like this part in episode 5. We don't really get a sense of what the real people are going through, only in little chunks, and it's starting to unravel a bit more and more, to the point my favorite part of that episode is when Vision comes home and he's like, you can't control me. And she's like, oh, can't I? And she starts the credits, and they're arguing during the credits, which is something I've never seen before in my life, which is incredible. Before they bow up to each other and they're about to throw down, before, big ass spoiler, Evan Peters as Quicksilver shows up.
Yeah, that was very, very interesting. Like, I wonder, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's going on here? Like, is it a crossover with, is he the Quicksilver from the X-Men? Because
No, he's definitely not the Quicksilver from the X-Men.
Yeah, like, it seems not. Like, all right, we're talking about episode 6 now. I'm waving my hands. Please leave if you haven't seen this episode.
Hold your breath. No, don't do that. But honestly, don't listen.
Yeah, please leave, because it's no good. I will totally. You see that spoiler tag right there in the video?
Yeah,
I will take that off whenever.
Over there. It's
Yes.
over there.
I will take that.
Right there. Yes.
We're stop talking about this. So go away. You still here? You better not be. All right. So after this episode, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It does not seem like he's the Quicksilver of the X-Men.
No, it's definitely highlighted, and this is one of the parts I hate the most about episode 6, because he has Quicksilver's ability as seen in Age of Ultron.
Yep.
Which, obviously, the Quicksilver scenes in the Fox X-Men movies were great. And I know they can't legitimately do that every time because it would be too cinematic and it would cost too much money. But when I see that combined, I'm like, man, they chose the wrong power display. I don't like it. It makes me mad.
Yeah, I don't mind that as much. Like, I thought it was really weird that now I'm wondering, could they just not get Aaron Taylor Johnson to come?
That doesn't make any sense. I don't remember the last thing I saw Aaron Taylor Johnson in. Honestly.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything since
Nocturnal Animals, which is like 4 years ago now, I think. But
yeah, like he was, because they weren't in the second Godzilla movie, right?
No. No.
Yeah, I think they referenced.
He died. Didn't he die in Godzilla? I know Bryan Cranston did. It's been a while since I watched Godzilla. But I know he's definitely not in King of the Monsters. I know that.
I didn't think which that is such a weird thing. Like, I associate them as brother and sister.
Wasn't that weird that it was 2014 their husband and wife, and then 2015 they're twins? It's the weirdest thing ever. It freaks me out every time.
Yeah, like so I don't know. Maybe he just couldn't, or like this scene when she sees him with the full 3 bullet holes. Yes. I thought, because you see the 3 bullet holes and then you see his face is gray. Okay. I thought you were going to see the 3 bullet holes and then it would be Aaron Taylor Johnson.
And I don't think they want to confuse people even more that way.
Yeah. Like it's really interesting. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I swore that this was going to be an X-Men thing, that this was going to be their way of bringing in the X-Men. And I was like, all right, cool. And then that doesn't seem like that's where they're going. Like, they could still do it. Like, one of the big reveals at the end is like Charles or Magneto coming in here and be like, I'm your real dad, or hey, I will help you, Wanda, or whatever.
There's a couple of things about this upcoming episode, or this episode that just aired, that I want to mention. So clearly, Pietro, in my opinion, did not go there because of Wanda. I think she was in a frustrating place with Vision, and whomever is affecting her reality-bending powers thought this would be the best way to keep her pacified and to keep her in confusion. And because of that, as we saw around the town, especially in the outskirts, we see even worse than episode 5. The people who have no agency and are just forced to stand and either boomerang or whatever.
All right, stop talking real quick. Because Ryan just came in, and I want to make sure that we're not ruining something for him.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, Ryan.
What's up?
All right, have you seen WandaVision?
Yeah, I watched the latest episode last night. Well, early in the morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. We were literally just talking about the new episode, and I didn't want to accidentally spoil anything.
Oh.
Yeah. I would feel terrible if I did it, honestly. So
don't worry. You guys are completely fine. I just did like a discussion with a bunch of my friend, a buddy of mine, like at 3 a.m, so it's all right.
Yeah. We were just discussing, and I saw you ping down there. I was like, oh, crap. Let's stop this conversation and ask him real quick. But so
don't worry, I'm good.
What's your opinion of the episode? Like, we were just talking about, it doesn't seem like Quicksilver is from the X-Men universe. It seems like he is Quicksilver from the MCU, but Evan Peters playing him. Like, it's
giving
so
a
weird.
facelift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was given that general impression at first. I mean, of course, we'd all like to go with, they're bringing the Fox universe, but no, the fact that Evan Peters is here, he's giving this great performance here. Look, I mean, I think for me, the moment it started to click in my mind is when he started talking, like bringing up memories of their childhood, and then Wanda is just like it's the whole question, like, do I remember it this way, or I don't remember it like that. And it started getting more connecting the dots to me. Like Evan Peters, he is playing the Aaron Taylor Johnson Quicksilver, and also just it's really hard to tell. Like, I want to think that maybe this is Quicksilver, but because of the reality shaping abilities, the reality shaping power, whatever the reality shaping function that's inside this hex has changed his appearance, and maybe just Wanda just always questioning if this is really him or not is kind of her trying to become more aware of the situation. But then when you have that moment with them in the middle of the square, in the middle of this little like Halloween, like in its haystack, she looks at him and she sees pretty much a dead Quicksilver. Then it's kind of telling me, okay, this is him. So, but then at the same time, I'm realizing maybe this is Quicksilver, but it's not. Maybe it's the bubble, whatever energy is inside that's messing with her, that's bringing back her brother.
I think he is a sleeper of sorts, which was kind of punctuated by all the questions he was asking before she got annoyed and drove him into the haystacks. And I think someone who's ever affecting Wanda's ability to reshape this reality knows enough to keep her on her toes, but not enough to make the Inception part of it work. That's my opinion, and I think I feel really bad for the townspeople. I feel more bad for townspeople as the episodes go on, and I don't know what to say about it.
That moment where Vision's looking at that neighbor, repeating the whole hanging up, and you just see a tear coming down her eye. Yeah, that moment really shows like, oh, these people in here. Some of them are aware of what's happening. And some of it's like everyone's aware of it, but not everyone's in that constant functioning period, like you see with Herb, the mailman, and a few other people at Vision's office. Some of them are actually like stuck in a repeated loop.
Yeah,
which, man, it's heartbreaking to watch.
And as they get close to the edge, they start losing that agency, like Agnes, which was awful. And like that, I was like, oh man, she's going nuts.
I don't know. I'm kind of questioning that Agnes is a victim of this. I mean, maybe a part of me feels like she's playing more of the let's sow in the seeds of chaos. She's kind of playing more of a trickster role, where she's trying to be Wanda's friend and aid. But it was just that moment in episode 5 to where she breaks character in front of Wanda and Vision. And to me personally, it was like, why did you break character? That was because when Vision freaking out over her wanting to hold the babies. That's a normal parental response. Why would you break character over that? So it does seem to me that possibly maybe she has some agency, or her. I don't know. It's really hard for me to pick apart. Maybe Agatha, like her true personality, is being covered because of this hex. So possibly with Agnes around, she's kind of the more like friendly version, but then there's those like seeds of what's ever inside of us trying to break out. Like, I want to talk more future wise on this, but I just want to talk about this episode the way it is, like piece by piece. Don't.
And Colton, you were talking about how we're probably not getting into the X-Men, but they keep getting closer, and I assume in the next episode or the one after that, we get closer to the reveal of whoever Monica's contact is, the space engineer, which is supposed to be like a Fantastic Four reference. So I think we might get closer to Fantastic Four necessarily than we do X-Men.
Yeah, that could be really interesting. So I have a question. Like, if in case it is Reed Richards, this could relate, which I know they didn't plan this back when they did Spider-Man Homecoming, but is the Avengers Tower going to become Baxter Building? Because I thought it was always going to become Osborn Tower, but they didn't talk about it in Far From Home at all.
Mhm.
So I don't know if maybe that's going to be like a spoiler for the show, because that movie takes place after this show.
I don't know.
Well, I think in the timeline it did say that the show does take place before Far From Home.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why Far From Home doesn't talk about the Avengers Tower acquisition, because they talk about it in Homecoming that someone is buying it, and maybe now they've decided to make it the Baxter Building and not because like all they'd have to do is change the A to a 4 and it'd be right there. But
that makes a lot of sense. Could T'Challa have purchased it for the sake of having a Wakandan building in New York? Is that possible?
It's possible.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you guys want to move on to your match?
That's up to you, man. You're the ringleader here.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll do the match, and then we're going to do our farewell and call it a day.
Nice.
Okay. Let me just grab. All right.
All righty. So, Robert declared that it would be geek questions, which I'm glad for because, and you don't want to change your mind, right?
No, I'm not gonna. No, you wanted to get these questions out. We haven't had a geek match.
Good. I also haven't wrote any singles questions, so I always.
If I said yes, you would have just been like, "Too bad, we're doing a geek match."
No, I would have looked up.
It's happening. It's happening. You know, I'm resigned to it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Question number 1 in the category of Marvel. Who plays Aurora Monroe or Storm in X-Men Days of Futures Past? And don't forget, you have 2 repeats and just a normal 15 seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ryan?
Halle Berry.
And Robert?
I thought you were asking for Apocalypse, and then I remembered you said Days of Future Past, so Halle Berry.
You both are correct. In the category of DC, what Game of Thrones actor does Batman save in Batman Begins? Five, 4, 3.
Oh, repeat.
Okay. That's your first. In the category of DC, what Game of Thrones actor does Batman save in Batman Begins?
And I freaking know, but I'm not going to be able to pull his name. What a waste of a repeat.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Robert?
I know it's Joffrey. I just can't remember his name.
Ryan?
I hope it's correct. I think his name is Jack Gleason.
That is correct.
All right.
All right. In the category of Star Trek, how many films in the Star Trek franchise has Jerry Goldsmith composed? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ryan?
I could be off. I said 5.
And Robert?
I also said 5.
And you are both correct. In the category of mixed bag,
Yay.
what is the port called that Jack Sparrow and Will Turner go to recruit more pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl?
Caleb Coho would love this right now. He would just absolutely be in love with this question.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Robert?
Not Danny Trejo from Breaking Bad, but Tortuga.
Ryan?
I believe there's actual rum in the Caribbean my mom bought from it. I think it's also called Tortuga, but I could be wrong.
You are both correct.
On our answer, but yeah.
All right. And I also forgot to mention at the beginning, in the case of a tie, the champion retains, but the challenger retains their challenge. So you get
Pretty much,
challenge.
if it's a tie, Robert can challenge again.
Yes. So technically, you being the first person to challenge, you could say, hey, next week I want another challenge.
Well, we'll see. I'm losing right now, so we'll see how that goes.
All right. In the category of Middle Earth, question 5. What is the name of the fortress that the people of Rohan go to escape Saruman in the Two Towers? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Ryan?
Comes deep.
And Robert?
For the deep, Helm's Deep.
We're both correct.
All right.
In question number 6, in the category of Star Wars, what 2 actors have played Lando Calrissian in the movies?
Yeah.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Robert?
Billy D, Donald Glover.
And Ryan?
Yes. Oop. Billy D. Williams and Donald Glover.
You are both correct. And question number 7, in the category of MCU, what was the original name of the Avengers Initiative as revealed in the film Captain Marvel? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ryan?
The Protector Initiative.
And Robert?
The Protector Initiative.
And you are both correct. All right. In the question number 8, in the category of the DCEU, what is the name of Shazam's child alter ego in Shazam?
Nope.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Robert?
In my best G-Man Hansu, Billy Batson.
And Ryan?
Billy Batson.
And you are both correct. It is 8-7, with 2 questions left. In the category of Wizarding World, what is the name of the phoenix that Tailfeather were given to make Harry and Voldemort's wand core?
Name of the Phoenix? Oh.
Yeah.
Three, two, one. And Ryan?
I can only think of one Phoenix, so I just wrote down Fox.
And Robert?
It's Fox.
And you were both correct.
Oh, shit.
So just to be clear, no matter what happens, Ryan still retains the title because I can only tie him right now.
That is correct.
Just to take all the pressure and the drama out of it.
But then at the same time, if we still tie, you can retain your challenge. I mean, you can just come right back at it again.
I could.
All right. In the category of movie release dates, in what year did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows come out? Five, four, three, two, one. Robert
2016.
and Ryan.
Damn it. I wrote 2014.
And it is a tie.
Ah.
Hey, Ryan, you retain your championship. Robert, you retain your challenge.
Yeah.
2016. Ugh. I must have gotten the first
2014 was the original remake.
the first one. Yeah, the first remake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only one that was shouting out in my head, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do you guys feel about this? Were the questions too easy?
Some of them were. I mean, I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I couldn't remember Jack Gleason to save my life. But no, they were fair.
Okay.
Yeah. No, these are fair questions, man. Look, it's just like 10 straight up questions. We're not asking for you to give us every deep cut question. Like, how many times was a star date said in like Star Trek the motion picture? Those kind of questions. No, it's just it's just like just going through. And besides, anyway, it's okay. I mean, the more people start challenging, then the more questions you're gonna possibly sooner or later you're gonna have to start doing a mix and match. And these are still good questions to go off of. I mean, if I did not remember that Jack Gleason was in Batman Begins, this would have been a completely different story, honestly.
Yeah, that and the Fox question, I wrote because I thought, oh, these will be tough. And you both got the Fox question right, which I think is only mentioned like once in the movie.
Yeah. But if you've read the book, they go into great detail.
Yeah, I didn't think it was ever mentioned at all. I may have to rewatch the films.
Yeah, it's talked about in Goblet of Fire.
Ah.
When they have the I'm trying to remember the actual word. Where the wand cores meet and
after their duel when Harry's talking with Dumbledore?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Just that you learn new things when you rewatch it. Or you relearn some things.
But yeah, so that was good. And then the Jack Gleason one, I swore I was gonna get you both with that. I knew for a fact that if I wrote these questions like 4 weeks ago when it was Kevin versus Anthony, and I knew I was going to get both of them with at least that one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got me. I said Charles Dance at first because I was like, wait, who did he save? And then I was like, no, you're talking about the kid who's kind of supposed to be Robin. And I know he's Joffrey, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But
I just remember the constant jokes made about the fact that the constant meme jokes about that. That's all. That's the reason why.
Yeah. All right. So, Robert.
Yeah.
Would you like to challenge again, or do you want to wait and let someone else run in and come at Ryan?
I actually want to sit back for a bit.
Okay. Then we will do that. Ryan, next week I will find you a challenger. Somewhere, somehow. I'll figure it out.
Hey, I didn't lose to Ryan, so that's a win for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone needs our victories. Heck, I'm just glad I retained. I'm glad I retained my championship. Ugh. Don't want to be like those guys who can't defend the belts.
Yep. But yeah, so I'll get you a challenger. It will be just as much of a surprise to you as it is to me because I will have to reach out to a bunch of people. So yeah, this was fun. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our good old farewell. So thank you guys for coming on here. I know Ryan, you can only be on here for a little bit, but thank you so much. Do you guys have anything you want to plug or anything?
Ryan, you go ahead.
Okay, sure, no problem. I know I'm not sure if you guys talked about the Schmoedown earlier on, but for anybody who's watching or listening to this, I do have a YouTube channel all about pretty much it's a Schmoedown S after show. It's called Mount Schmoedown. Me and my co-host, we do a career retrospective on players past and present of the Schmoedown. We judge their impact, their abilities as a player. We try to present them as like top tier players, but not trying to judge them on their records. Most likely, if you guys have checked us out this Saturday or this past Saturday, you'll notice that you'll see that we just did a tribute episode to John Schnepp. And of course, afterwards, we're going to start doing a two-parter on Lon Harris. That is going to be so much fun.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Ryan. I really appreciate it. It's always good to have you on.
Of course. Yeah.
Much appreciated.
He's great. Ryan's great, always. We know this.
All right, and Robert, you have anything to?
No, I mean everything that's kind of going on in my life, fan league wise and whatever, we've kind of already mentioned. But you'll see me in multiplex, I think soon. Warzone and Fandom, I debuted in both lately, so look out for that. MTC have a #1 contenders match coming up, so look out for that. Got my sports podcast, which again. Still working on getting off the ground. I'll talk about it more as it becomes more full-fledged and fleshed out. Otherwise, just at me at Robert Castner. I like to talk about stuff. So if you want to talk about stuff too, just start a conversation.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move you guys to the back, and then I'll talk about the schedule for next week's show, and then we're going to get out of here.
No problem.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is our episode. Next week, we're going to have our championship match with Mr. Ryan Payne and a competitor to be named later. We'll probably do predictions for the throwdown. We already did some this week, but of course, next week we'll have some more people on here. Then we'll have predictions for that. We're going to do, we weren't able to do review the Desolation of Smaug this week, so we're going to do that next week. And we might review Battle of the Five Armies as well if we have time. And we're going to review the first two seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think that's all. Of course, WandaVision, episode 7. If me and my cast have seen it yet, we will totally do that. Of course, if I haven't seen it, I'm not going to review anything that I have not been a witness to. So there we go. If you would like to, you can follow me at ColtonRoberts8 on Twitter, or you can follow the show at SuperNova_show. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Catch you around.